It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Chicago Cubs. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Friday evening to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers and Cubs, first of 3 and first of 6, if you include the Giants, the following 3. As far as the Dodgers are concerned, thanks to the sweep of Cincinnati, they arrive home 2.5 in front of the Giants with a 3-game winning streak. The Cubs lost 2 in a row to the Giants. They're 8.5 games behind St. Louis, but don't play them short. For Chicago, all last year, they won 73 games. Coming into tonight, they've already won 73 games. That's actually 3 more than the Dodgers. For the Dodgers, a sour note to begin the brief homestand. Yasiel Puig, plagued with hamstring problems, goes on the DL as of today. For the Cubs, playing exceptionally well. They're 18-6 in the month of August. You'd have to go back over 80 years to find a Cub team enjoying such a great month. Roadblock for them, however, that'll be Clayton Kershaw. Here at home, he has 28 consecutive scoreless innings and a career ERA at home of 2.07. Jason Hamill on the mound for the Cubs. He's 7-5. No record this year, 2-5 lifetime. And one other thought, the team that scores first figures to win. The Cubs are 53-12 and the Dodgers 49-14 when they score first. With all of that, sit back, relax, pull up a chair. Good one on the way, and a whole lot more right after this. evening to you, wherever you may be. Clayton Kershaw going to the mound to pick up the ball and start a big game against the Chicago Cubs. Meanwhile, the Giants pursuing by 2.5 games, and they are be playing the St. Louis Cardinals. For Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers, they have met the Cubs 4 times, and they have split the 4 games. It's interesting, the last time the Dodgers lost a season series to Chicago was back in 2008, and the last time the Cubs made the playoffs and the Dodgers swept them in 3 was that same year, 2008. Well, most of the Cubs on this very young Chicago lineup are not thinking about 2008. It is a club that is vastly improving, led by Anthony Rizzo, their first baseman, Dexter Fowler, who really wears out Kershaw, and you can't say that much about very many players. Fowler leads off in center. Chris DeNorfia, formerly with San Diego, in right field. Chris Bryant at third base. Anthony Rizzo at first. Starlin Castro had been the shortstop. They've moved him to second base. Matt Caesar, and when you look at that first name, you figure you can't figure it out. S-Z-C-Z-U-R, but thankfully it comes out Caesar. Miguel Montero behind the plate. Jason Hamill, the pitcher, batting 8th, and the shortstop, Addison Russell, on the mound. For Clayton Kershaw, he has been absolutely phenomenal at home. His best month would be August back in 2011 when he was 5-1. Right now in August he is 2-0, and as we mentioned earlier, he has been 28 consecutive scoreless innings here at home, with an earned run average in his career of 2 here. So we'll see about Clayton. Big game. And Dexter Fowler, we mentioned, does a very good job of hitting against him. Fowler is batting .425 and promptly bangs the first pitch to center. Coming up is Enrique Hernandez to make a sprawling catch in shallow center. So Fowler, first ball swinging. Well, he's led off this year with 4 home runs, so he's not going to take. It turned out to be just a fly ball, and Fowler is robbed on a nice diving catch by Enrique Hernandez. So quickly, 1 up, 1 away, and the batter now, Chris DeNorfia. Certainly DeNorfia has had enough at-bats against Clayton Kershaw. So DeNorfia checking in, hitting .257 against Clayton, and takes a fastball for a strike. One thought, and you can bet it's in Clayton Kershaw's mind, is the plate umpire. There's a big reason for him to be remembering Greg Gibson. The next pitch in for a strike, 0-2. If you go back to May 18, 2004, when Clayton Kershaw pitched his no-hitter against Colorado, and that would be 2014, Greg Gibson was the plate umpire. He was also behind the plate for Randy Johnson's perfect game. So he might be called a pitcher's umpire. We'll see. 1-2 fastball is off the plate, and the count 2-2. That's pretty good in your resume to be the plate umpire for a perfect game, Randy Johnson, and then the no-hitter from Clayton Kershaw. 2-2 pitch is swung on and fouled away. So DeNorfia up there battling, and a 2-2 count. DeNorfia, who is a handy guy to have around, played just about anywhere in the outfield. In a runaway game in Chicago, he actually pitched. 2-2 pitch on the way. Kershaw's curveball is swung on and missed, and down goes DeNorfia. You have 2 streaking teams today. Cubs have lost 2 in a row. Dodgers have won 3 in a row. With the leather, it's Gonzalez and Utley, Rollins and Turner, Crawford, Hernandez and Ethier, with Grandal handling Kershaw. And the batter now, a whiz kid, Chris Bryant, 7-game hitting streak, 20 home runs, 77 runs batted in. Big right-hand batter, holds up on a strike, and the count 0-1. Strikes out a lot swinging, so he's an aggressive young hitter. He has struck out 123 times swinging. The next pitch is swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. So Kershaw Starts out and gets an out on the first pitch on Fowler. Strikes out DeNorfia, and here is Bryant. The strike 2 pitch on the way. Bryant takes low, ball 1, 1-2. One thing for a pitcher tonight, he'll get loose in a hurry. It's just a question of what the temperature is. You might as well keep that away from him. He knows it's hot. But endurance tonight will certainly be part of the game. It's almost like playing an afternoon game. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Clayton ready. Here it comes. Fastball, knee high on the corner. Strike 3. So Clayton strikes out 2 of 3. The half inning is in the books, and we're heading to the bottom of the first inning. Cubs nothing, Dodgers coming up. And we can take a look at Don Mattingly's lineup. It reads as follows. Jimmy Rollins leads off at short. Chase Utley at second. Adrian Gonzalez at first. Justin Turner at third. Andre Ethier, who hits Hamill very well in right field for Yasiel Puig. We'll repeat, Puig had to go on the DL with a hamstring pull. Carl Crawford in left. Yasmani Grandal, the catcher. Kike Hernandez in center, and Clayton Kershaw on the mound. On the mound, Jason Hamill. He's a big fella, 6'6", 220 pounds. He is 33 years old come the 2nd of September, so that would be next Wednesday. Originally signed by Tampa Bay, he's pitched for the Rays, the Rockies, the Orioles, the Cubs, the A's, and back to the Cubs. Jimmy Rollins hitting left-handed, and the right side of the infield is loaded up. Jimmy hitting .222, but it's been a hard at bat. He's hit safely 10 of his last 13. Takes a strike, and they count 1 ball and 1 strike. So Jimmy followed by Utley and then Gonzalez. No score, bottom of the first. Hamels with a big breaking ball down in the dirt, kicks away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Interestingly enough, Jason Hamill made his major league debut back in 2006 with Tampa Bay, and his manager was Joe Madden, and his manager is now with the Cubs. Rollins fights one off, fouled off to the left. 2-2 the count. Joe Madden, we had a chance to visit with him for about 15 minutes today, and number one, he is about as nice a man as we've ever met. Great sense of humor and a great way to manage. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way, low, ball 3. Joe Madden loves T-shirts. The first one that he came up with, and it's a very good bit of advice for a young ball player. Don't let the pressure exceed the pleasure. The one he's wearing right now, do simple better. Ground ball to the right side. Castro, the second baseman, makes the play, and Jimmy Rollins goes out 4-3, 1 away.
So Hamill ready to get his number 2 man. And, of course, we welcome him here to Dodger Stadium, making his debut in a Dodger uniform, number 26, Chase Utley. So Utley hitting .215. Since coming over to the Dodgers, he's hit safely in 4 of his last 5 games. And the first pitch in for a strike. 0-1 the count. Chase, of course, one of the top players in the league for so many years, and they will certainly never forget all of the great play he turned in for the Philadelphia Phillies. Still a good, solid ball player, and takes one in the dirt to the backstop. 1 ball and 1 strike. Utley's playing days for Philadelphia this year plagued by a bad ankle. However, since he got over the ankle, he's been doing pretty well. 1 ball and 1 strike the count. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Utley has a look, and that's a strike, and the count 1-2. When you look at Chase Utley's number 26, you go back a couple of years ago, Tim Wallach wore that number. Spend some time looking at the various Dodgers as he takes a breaking ball in the dirt, and the count 2-2. Tim Wallach right now busily engaged in a conversation with A.J. Ellis. Number 26. There's been about 25 fellas. You remember Henry Rodriguez? He wore number 26. Hit a bunch of home runs for the Dodgers. 2-2 pitch on the way is swung on, squirted back. Picking it up as Hamill throws to first in time. So with that, we have 2 down in the first inning. Adrian Gonzalez coming up, and we'll set the Cubs for you defensively. Rizzo and Castro, Russell and Bryant, Caesar in left, Fowler in center, DeNorfia in right. The left-hand hitting Miguel Montero behind the plate. And by the way, Hamill has pitched very well with Montero. The ERA, when those two are working together, is 2.9. So Montero, a sharp catcher, and now trying to get Hamill out of the first inning against Adrian Gonzalez. Another thing, Hamill's earned run average at night is 2.6. He changes up on Gonzalez, and we have 1 ball and no strikes. Adrian fouled the ball off his knee. The question in Cincinnati was, when he took himself out of the game, would he play tonight? Well, here he is. And a 2 ball, no strike count. Yesterday, Adrian batting, fouled it, got him on the knee. He came out of the game inside of an inning because the knee was beginning to swell. However, it was a wise move, and he knew his body. He said no, he'd be okay. It's a high pop fly, really, into shallow right field. Coming in for it is DeNorfia, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Jason Hamill. So at the end of an inning, with Kershaw ready to go back to work, no score. Stadium in his career. 2.07, only topped by the great Pete Alexander. His earned run average was 1.7, and Pete Alexander pitched in Baker Bowl for the Phillies, and Baker Bowl was a closet. I mean, it was tiny. Hard to believe his ERA. So Clayton going to work now on Anthony Rizzo. First ball, swinging, fouls it away, and the count 0-1. Anthony Rizzo, among other things, has power, 25 home runs. That ties him amongst National League first basemen. He also will steal a base or two. He'll steal on the 0-2 count, which really shocks people. He takes the next one on the outside corner, slider. 0-2 the count. Anthony not very happy about the call. He's stolen third base 3 times. He's a first ball hitter if it's in the strike zone, and he likes it. Strike 2 pitch on the way to Anthony Rizzo. He lunges at a bad ball and strikes out. So time to shake your head and mutter a little bit. Of course, you're not much of an umpire. If you disagree with one strike and then you chase a pitch in the dirt, you lose a little credential, I think. So that's 3 strikeouts in a row now for Clayton Kershaw. And it brings up Starlin Castro. He was the shortstop, moved him over to second base, hitting over 300 for the last 2 weeks. He has a half a dozen home runs, 48 runs batted in. Goes after the first pitch, fouls it back, and the count 0-1. Castro runs very well. He has 23 infield hits. He also has 10 RBIs in the 9th inning. That'll give you an idea that he's a pretty much of a pressure hitter. Castro, right-hand batter. Kershaw ready in the strike 1 pitch. A little low. 1 ball, 1 strike. So far 16 pitches turned in by Clayton. Castro's first major league at bat was a 3-run home run against Cincinnati. He hits a chopper to third. Turner has to go down to get it. Wonderful throw while on the run. It's amazing what they make look so easy. First of all, the ball did not come up. Turner on the dead run had to reach down to get it, and then couldn't get a lot on the throw because he was running, and yet got it over there accurately in plenty of time. So what others might think is a routine play, it was anything but. 2 down, and the batter now is Matt Caesar. Thank goodness, because when we first saw his name, we had no idea how to pronounce it. Matt, right-hand batter, whacks one to the gap, and it belongs to Caesar, as he'll have himself a stand-up double with 2 out. Top of the 2nd inning, no score. So render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and in this case, it's a line drive double to the gap. So he went up there hacking. That's another thing that Joe Maddon was talking about. This is a very young and very aggressive ball club. The other day, Joe was talking about the fact diving stop at shortstop, a great play in center field. And by the way, they were losing 9-1. So Dexter Fowler and company, they will go right to the end for Joe Maddon. So now here's an old friend, Miguel Montero, spent so many years with Arizona. The Dodgers certainly know him. Clayton ready, looks at second, fastball, a little in the high strike zone area. 0-1 the count. Montero, another fella playing well the last 9 games. Remember, in the month of August, the Cubs are 18-6, and they lost the last 2 games to the Giants. Big, slow, off-speed pitch almost hit Montero. If you were going to take one for the club, that would have been the perfect pitch to take. Hamill batting 8th in the lineup, and then you have Addison Russell batting 9th. Here's the 1-1 pitch coming up. So you can bet Montero with the pitcher behind him will be aggressive. He is, and comes up empty on a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. The Cardinals are in San Francisco. Michael Wacha and Mike Leake. Leake had been on the DL. No score in the first inning up there. Of course, the Giants are really banged up. I mean, they lost Hunter Pence, Angel Pagan, Joe Panic. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Swung on and missed. Down goes Montero. 4 strikeouts in 2 innings for Clayton Kershaw. No runs, a hit, man left. And at the end of an inning and a half, no score. Stadium. Our thanks to Dodger management for breaking the news, if you want to call it news, that God willing, we'll all be back here next year. God willing. Anyway, bottom of the 2nd inning, and the Dodgers now with Justin Turner, Andre Ethier, and Carl Crawford. Hamels' first pitch slides on the inside corner for a strike, and the count 0-1. Turner 15 home runs, 51 runs batted in, and hitting .302. Done a lot of great work against right-hand pitching, hitting .326 against the right-handers. 2nd inning, no score. Jason Hamill ready and comes back, and it's off the plate. We were talking about Joe Madden earlier and how he likes T-shirts, and I was thinking of all the years going to Wrigley Field and seeing those great fans, especially in the bleachers, and a lot of the T-shirts that they would wear. And one we dug up to mention as Turner fouls it away. The top 10 lies told at Wrigley Field. Number 1, the strike wasn't about money. Number 2, August is our month. 3, Dunston, that's Sean Dunston, just needs a few years to develop. The Tribune Company really cares about the fans. Harry's not drunk. That, of course, was talking about Harry Carey when he broadcast the Cubs. And there are a couple more. We don't need Maddox. And, of course, Greg Maddux pitched for the Cubs from 1986 to 92. There will never be lights in Wrigley Field. Wait till next year. Parking is no problem. Chopper to the hole, backhanded by Russell. Addison a high throw, but Rizzo's a high pocket first baseman. And the last one on that T-shirt, bleacher bums drink in moderation. That's just one of the laughs about the Cubs. And of course, for Chicago, they've had a lot of painful times, but they have a young ball club. And as we always see, many a Cubs fan coming to Dodger Stadium when Chicago's in town. Bottom of the second inning, no score. Turner grounds out. Here is Andre Ethier. Ethier has done very well against Jason Hamill. Andre hitting .333. That means 9 hits, including a double and 2 home runs. So Hamill and Andre Ethier have certainly faced each other enough times. 27 at bats. So 1 away, bottom of the second, no score. Game 1 of the 3-game series. Hamill, all 6 of him, comes back, elbows and kneecaps. Pitch swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. Clayton Kershaw, like Hamill, each having made 22 pitches. Hamill, however, just working on the second man. Strike 2 pitch poked down the left field line. That is going to drop for a base hit, and Caesar is up with it. Ethier going to second and beats the throw. So Andre Ethier continues to plague Jason Hamill. A pitch up and away, and he just went over and slapped it into left field. So Hamill now with a runner at second. Wanted to double check the count on that because that's one of Hamill's big problems. He gives up base hits on a no ball 2 strike count, and that's exactly what that count was. The pitch to Carl Crawford is down at his left knee. 1 ball and no strikes to Carl, who certainly empathizes with Yasiel Puig. Crawford's had enough physical problems all year, and in case you missed it, Puig is here, but he's on the DL as he talks to Alex Guerrero. For Hamill, he's trying to avoid something that's happening to him this year. Hit early. His next pitch to Crawford is low. 2 balls and no strikes. In the first 25 pitches, and he has just made the 25, the opposition was hitting .323. 12 of the 19 home runs he has allowed have come in the first 3 innings. 2-0 pitch on the way. Tall right-handed delivers, and that's low. Ball 3. 3-0. Interesting, too, how things work out. Combined total batting average on the first 2 pitches, .460, as Grandal waits on deck. 3-0. We'll see if they let Crawford swing or not. 1 out, second inning, no score. Crawford takes a strike, and the count 3-1. There was a very interesting article the other day in the LA Times about how important the count is. And everybody used to think the first pitch was the most important. Here's the 3-1 pitch coming up. Hamill delivers, swung on and missed, 3-2. But the most important pitch, they figured it out, those who live in Numberland, the most important count is 1 ball and 1 strike. The next pitch is the most important pitch of any at-bat. If it's ball 2, a 2-1 count, the hitters are batting around .340. If it's a strike, 1 and 2, they're batting about .160. But here's the 3-2 pitch, and that's fouled away. So the next time we get a 1-1 count on a hitter, it'll be interesting to see that third pitch. That is now acknowledged the most important pitch of any at-bat. 3-2 the count. Andre Ethier out there at second base on a no ball 2 strike pitch that was slapped into left field. Hamill comes back 3-2, and it's at the feet of Crawford. So with 1 out, Dodgers have runners at first and second, and the batter will be Yasmani Grandal. You talk about what a tough job catching is, and you immediately think of the foul balls into the mask or maybe the foul ball on the hand. But for Grandal, he took a foul ball off his shoulder, and it has really bothered him, especially hitting left-handed. So Grandal will be hitting left-handed, batting .281, will make a .261 from this side, .271 combined. 2 on, 1 out, no score, second inning. Hamill ready, comes to his hitter, runs it inside with a fastball, ball 1. 1-0. Hamill checking again. Now the 1-0 pitch on the way. Jason delivers, and that's a high strike. Just barely stayed inside the strike zone. 1-1 the count. Earlier we talked about Ethier getting that double on an 0-2 count. He has allowed 15 hits on a no ball 2 strike count. That makes him the leader in a very unenviable department. Grandal fouls it back, and it's still 1-2. 8 of his home runs Hamill has given up on a 2 strike count. Interesting too. Wow. Early in the game, in the first 15 pitches of his games, he's allowed 7 home runs in the first 15 pitches. Wow. 1-2 the count to Grandal. 2 on, 1 out, no score, bottom of the second inning. Kike Hernandez on deck. 1-2 pitch coming up, and that's low in the dirt. 2-2 the count. The Hamill, who of course pitching in Wrigley Field is a sense to distort your numbers. Hamill coming into the game has allowed 19 home runs. Dan Harron, who was pushed around yesterday, smiling now in the Cub dugout. The 2-2 pitch is swung on and missed, and down goes Grandal. So Yasmani strikes out, and with 2 out, the batter will be Kike Hernandez. Breaking ball. Yasmani went down to get it, came up empty. So 2 out, second inning, no score. Kike Hernandez checking in. Kike hitting .303, but boy, he's been a savior in the outfield, second base, wherever, as Jock Peterson sits this out talking to Lorenzo Bundy. By the way, Lorenzo now in the dugout as a dugout coach, and former Dodger, most recently former manager in Milwaukee, Ron Renicky, coaching at third base. No balls, 1 strike. 2 on, 2 out, second inning, no score. Hamill trying to wiggle off a hook. Hernandez way out in front, and an 0-2 count. For Jason Hamill, he's been involved in 12 starts where he did not get a decision, either a win or a loss. Here's the strike 2 pitch coming up. Jason at the belt, big guy deals, half swing, strike 3, and Hernandez badly fooled, going with a half swing on a pitch outside of the strike zone. So no runs, 1 hit, 2 left, and at the end of 2, no score. Wednesday. Get your tickets now. You can purchase. Visit Dodgers.com/tickets. Everybody wants to take a look at that, including Mr. Moon. Meanwhile, Clayton Kershaw ready to go to the third inning. He has struck out 4. He's allowed 1 hit. That was the double by Matt Caesar into the gap in left center. Jason Hamill, the pitcher, gives you a good strike zone, 6'6", and yet Kershaw misses high. Ball 1. Hamill followed by the shortstop, Addison Russell. Hamill, a ground ball to short. Charging it is Jimmy Rollins to throw him out. And just like that, 1 up and 1 away. Addison Russell checking in. Addison Russell out of Pace, Florida, lives in Miami. Drafted in the first round by the Oakland A's, just 2012. The Cubs sent pitcher Jeff Samardzija and, interestingly enough, Jason Hamill to the A's. So they got Russell, and then before you knew it, they made another deal, and it brought Jason Hamill back. Strike 1 pitch on the way, swung on and missed. 0-2. They like Russell's bat, but they also think he's a much better shortstop than Starlin Castro. Strike 2 pitch on the way, off speed, fouled at the plate. There are those who look at Russell as Castro is busily engaged in the dugout. They compare Russell's swing to Juan Uribe. He has a piece of Cub history. He hit his first major league home run in his 8th game to beat the Brewers. That was May 1, when Roenicke was still the manager of Milwaukee. There's a pitch on the corner, and Russell is done. That was the only run of the game as the Cubs beat the Brewers 1-0. In fact, the last Cubs player whose first career home run was the only run of the game was a great first baseman by the name of Phil Cavarretta, who beat the Reds on a home run 1-0 back in 1934. So he's in some, what was it, the tall cotton, as Red Barber would say. And now here's Dexter Fowler, and takes inside at the knuckles, ball 1. Fowler, Daddy Longlegs, also has the most triples in the major leagues since he came up. 1-0 pitch in there. He has 64 triples. Michael Bourne 55, Shane Victorino 51, and of course he really had the place to roam when he played in Colorado. 1-1 pitch on the way. Fowler swings, kind of an awkward swing, so he was fooled on the pitch. 1-2 the count. Fowler back up, 2 down, bases empty, no score. 1-2 pitch, big overhand curveball hit up the middle. A smothering stop by Hernandez at second base by Utley. Great stop. It reminded me of Hernandez, who refuses to let a ground ball get through the infield. And Utley, a sprawling stop, and then tried to throw, but he had the wrong hitter, because Dexter Fowler is indeed a daddy longlegs, and he meets the play. So Fowler, an infield single. And the batter is Chris Denorfia. Utley has always been as hard a working player as you will ever see. Denorfia struck out in the first inning. Kershaw ready and deals. Fastball hit to the hole. Rollins backhands, throws to second in time to get Fowler. So 2 nice plays on the infield, especially that one by the shortstop Rollins to end it. And at the end of 2.5 innings, no score. Clayton Kershaw will lead it off. He has struck out 5. He now has a string of 31 scoreless innings here at Dodger Stadium. And the first pitch off the plate, ball 1. Another interesting note, in each of the first 3 innings, Clayton Kershaw has made 11 pitches, though he's now up to 33. Big swing and a miss, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Jason Hamill allowed the double to Ethier on an 0-2 count, then walked Crawford, but he struck out a couple. Working on Kershaw, and there's a chopper to short. Russell is over, up with it. Addison makes the play. If I remember correctly, there's a street in Chicago, Addison. So a pretty aptly named kid for the shortstop.
Jimmy Rollins.
One away, and Jimmy Rollins coming up. Rollins grounded out in the first inning, and the way they did things, they moved the third baseman, Bryant, over into the group on the right side. So Rollins grounded out to the right side, but to the third baseman. Jimmy has a look at the first pitch, and it misses, ball 1. 1-0 to Rollins. 1 out, bottom of the third, no score. The Cubs no runs, 2 hits. Dodgers no runs, 1 hit. The Cubs have been playing super ball in August. And there's a base hit to the wide open spaces between second and third. Fielded out there by Caesar. And back to first base goes Rollins. So Jimmy slaps one the other way since they load up the right side. Actually, he just hit the ball where it was pitched. So really, that's a bad pitch made by the pitcher, Jason Hamill. I mean, if you're going to load up the right side, you have only one man on the left. The worst thing you can do to a left-hand hitter is pitch him down and away. So Rollins a base hit. Chase Utley coming up. Chris Bryant now goes back to third base with a runner aboard. Russell goes back to his position at short. And Hamill, who has given up 2 hits and a walk but no runs, throw to first pretty close, and Rollins just did get back. That was a quick move. Rollins has stolen 9, but he's also been caught 7. Utley very much of a situational hitter. Tag late at the armpit of the right leg. Hamill set at the belt, looks over at first, comes back to Utley, swung on, comes up empty. 0-1 the count to Chase. For Chase Utley, born in Pasadena. In his first major league start, he got his first major league hit, and would you believe it was a grand slam home run against Aaron Cook in Philadelphia. That's when Aaron was pitching for Colorado. Utley that night batted 8th in the lineup, because now he has over 1,500 hits, over 220 home runs, over 4 grand slams. Had a magnificent career, and he's not finished, not by a long shot. Strike 1 pitch. Chase swings, rips it into right center. There's nobody there. That'll go to the wall. Here comes Rollins around third. He will score, and the throw's going to the plate. So Utley just keeps on going to third. So Chase Utley bangs one to the gap in right center, and the Cubs have trouble getting it back and allows Utley to go to third. So it was a long double, and just watch the replay, and we'll watch it as well. It was teed off the wall by Fowler. Fowler got it to the infield, but it was not cut off at the mound. It should have been, and since it wasn't, Utley goes to third. Infield has to play up, and the pitch now to Gonzalez. 1 ball and no strikes. So 1-0 favor of the Dodgers. Utley taking advantage of the throw that was not cut off. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Bad ball swung on and missed. So Rollins, who still runs very well, getting a kick out of it. Somebody's on his case. Chase with the double, taking third. Yeah, it's Yasiel Puig trying to do everything he can to help by cooling off Jimmy Rollins. Meanwhile, Adrian fouls another one back, and the count 1-2. They also serve who only stand and wave. A towel is instance. 1-2. I don't know if you've ever played baseball, but you go from first to home on anything except a home run. It's an effort. Fly ball, Fowler has to come in to get it. He's almost in the infield. Utley does what you're supposed to do, fake and make him throw the ball to the plate, and he almost threw it away. So Utley at third, 1 run in, 2 down. Watching Jimmy Rollins at first, the ball is hit. Now he realizes it's in the gap, and now he has to open up. And I mean, Jimmy is running hard and running hard all the way. Came in standing up to throw behind him, but that's maximum effort to run from first to home on a double or single or whatever it is. Jimmy, after all, will be 37 in November. Well, here's Justin Turner, and he takes high, ball 1. So in the inning, Kershaw grounded out. Rollins singled on a bad pitch without a shortstop. It was a perfect pitch to go the other way. Then Utley doubles him in, goes to third on the throw. Gonzalez, a pop fly, no advance by Utley. And here's Turner trying to pick him up. The next one to Justin, in for a strike, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. 1 run, 3 hits, no errors for the Dodgers, no runs, 2 hits, and no errors for the Cubs. Jason Hamill, big right-hander, comes back. Check swing on an off-speed pitch that misses the zone. They're going to check to see if there was a strike. No swing. So a 2-1 count. Hamill, by the way, has 6 wild pitches. 2-1. 2-1 pitch on the way is high, ball 3. We were talking about Joe Madden earlier. You know what he's going to do Sunday? You know, they play the ESPN game here, and then they have to fly to Chicago and play tomorrow. The Cubs will go home wearing their pajamas. Yeah, pajamas. That'll be fun to see. Here's the 3-1 pitch coming up to Justin Turner. Swung on, whacked to left, but playable. Caesar is there, and that's the inning. So 1 run, 2 hits, man left at third. Jimmy Rollins almost ran out of his shoes to bring the run home, and the Dodgers lead 1-0. Kanye converted the first of a Major League record 84 consecutive saves. We go to the fourth inning with the Dodgers leading the Cubs 1-0. It'll be Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, and Starlin Castro against Clayton Kershaw, who gave up a 2-out double to Matt Caesar in the second inning and a single to Dexter Fowler up the middle in the third that was smothered by Chase Utley. Utley doubles in Rollins. Dodgers take a 1-0 lead to the fourth inning. Chris Bryant starting it off. Chris from Las Vegas, in fact, played a lot of ball, we understand, with Bryce Harper. When Bryant was 9 years old, he hit 7 home runs at a club tournament, and that's when the father realized that he had some extra special talent. 1 ball, 1 strike. Growing up in Las Vegas, Bryant played in several tournaments with phenom Bryce Harper. Bryant is 10 months older than Harper, but both of them were constantly playing up against older competition. Ground foul, 1-2. His father was a farmhand in the Red Sox system back in the 80s. His father had a lot to do, of course, with Chris Bryant growing up and becoming a terrific player. His dad wore number 17 with the Red Sox, so Chris wears number 17 in honor of his dad and strikes out a second time. For Kershaw, that gives him 6 strikeouts. High fastball. Anthony couldn't catch up to it. He's certainly tall enough. Rizzo is 6'5". Bryant is 6'5", 215 pounds. So now here is Rizzo, and he struck out in the second inning. Anthony upset on the first call of a strike, and then eventually chased one in the dirt. The Cubs look at people like Bryant and Rizzo and realize that's the way they're coming back. Pitch is foul back. I'm not sure who got that. Let's take a look. It's going to go off the glove. It hit the top of Grandal's helmet, and then it got a bit of the plate umpire. Wow. Jim Joyce, take another look. Wow, that got both of them, especially the second man, Greg Gibson. So Anthony Rizzo coiled up there at the plate. Looked like it hit the top of Grandal's helmet and then got the mask of Gibson. It can be a nightmare back there. Rizzo 6'3", 220. Now the 1-1 pitch in there for a strike, 1-2. By the way, it's inspirational. There was something wrong with Anthony Rizzo, and the Red Sox sent him to Boston General Hospital. He was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. He's battled his way back. Now he is a regular visitor at children's hospitals in Chicago. 2-2. Anthony Rizzo just turned 26. Signed by the Red Sox out of high school. Three and two. Fastball and a high fly ball into deep center. No doubt about that one. That's out of here. Anthony Rizzo hits one out to tie up the ball game. His 26th home run of the year. 78 runs batted in. For Clayton Kershaw, the 13th home run that he has allowed, and his string of scoreless innings at home ends at 31 1/3. Now Rizzo wears the big number 44. Henry Aaron's number, Willie McCovey's number. 44 has always been power, and he wears it, and for good reason. Rizzo last year hit 32 home runs, though he's on the beam again. So Anthony strikes out first time, hits one out of sight next time, and we have a 1-1 tie. One ball and one strike. Starlin Castro, talented young player, hitting .242. Breaking ball, that's going to go foul off to the right, out of play. For Starlin Castro, when he broke in his major league game, we told you he hit a 3-run home run. In his third at bat, he tripled. So in his major league debut, he had 6 runs batted in. Castro swings, doesn't get the next one, so he walks away. That's 7 strikeouts for Kershaw and a 1-1 tie. And the batter, Matt Caesar, who doubled the gap in left center. I've mentioned it before, but you only think about it when you see a name that appears to be so complicated and winds up being pronounced relatively easy. His last name winds up Caesar. That's easy. I remember a football player, his name S.J.A.J.N.A. And you look at that, know where to start, and that was China, like China on Harvest Moon. S.J.A.J.N.A. The old expression, his name looks like an eye chart. Foul back. 2-1 the count. Another good young ball player, not in the lineup tonight. I'm sure we'll see him. That's Kyle Schwarber. He's a left-hand hitter, so he's sitting this one out. Two and two on that breaking ball. Jorge Soler, is another good young outfielder, but he's on the DL. So he can't play, and Schwarber waiting his turn. 2-2 to Caesar. Ground ball right to where Justin Turner was. A little bit of a low throw, but Adrian makes the play. So it is Anthony Rizzo hits it out over the center field wall, and we're going to the bottom of the third. Make it now the middle of the fourth, 1-1.
Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the 2015 Jeep Cherokee. With an EPA estimated 31 highway MPG, it's the perfect choice. Visit Jeep.com today.
Anthony Rizzo has certainly improved. Back in 2011 against left-handers, he had a home run and hit 172. In 2012, 4 home runs, 17 RBIs. He hit 208. The next year, he hit 189. However, last year, he had 8 home runs and hit 300 against left-handers. This year, he's hitting 333 with 6 home runs against lefties. So the first baseman is developing right on key. Fly ball to Caesar in left field. So Ethier hits it to left. The last time up, remember, he doubled for Clayton Kershaw, allowing the home run to Rizzo, and that breaks the bubble. He had gone 3 1/3 tonight, 31 1/3 scoreless innings this year at home, and then Rizzo ties it up. He has made 52 pitches. The home run came on a 3-2 fastball. So Ethier fly ball to left, double to left, first time up. And here's Kyle Crawford. Fastball low. 1 ball and no strikes. Boy, that was a troublesome foul ball that first hit the top of Grandal's helmet and then smashed into the mask of Greg Gibson. Fortunately, both men are okay. 1 ball and 1 strike. And ball 2. In the old days, the biggest difference between a National League umpire and an American League umpire was the equipment. The National League umpire wore an inside chest protector. There's a line drive down the line, foul. The American League umpire wore what looked like a mattress. It was actually inflated, and it was on the outside of the body. They always said that was the difference why in the American League they did not give the hitter the low ball strike because they couldn't see it over the mattress. But the National League, the umpires were low ball umpires because they could bend and see. Crawford is fooled. Down he goes. Say, don't forget Sunday on Timeless Dodgers, relive Manny Ramirez postseason heroics. Remember the Dodgers down the Cubs in Game 2 of the 2008 Division Series. So don't miss Timeless Dodgers. That'll be Sunday at 1 on Sportsnet LA. Good breaking ball in for a strike. By the way, if you're keeping score, remember the fact that the Cubs made a mistake. They didn't cut the throw off, and there was no chance they were going to get Rollins on the ball hit by Utley. And originally they said double and took third on the throw, which was the proper call. They've reversed it now and said, no, give Utley a triple. It was a defensive lapse, but no error by the Cubs. So the world will not change one bit, and Utley will have a triple. A banged up Grandal up there with a 2-ball 1-strike count. It's the left shoulder that bothers him hitting left-handed. Has nothing to do with his throwing. 2-2. Oh, by the way, did you notice with all the banged up Giants, Pagan is down, Pence is down, Panic is down. They picked up Marlon Byrd. 2-2 pitch, breaking ball, got him. Anyway, Marlon Byrd, the new Giant, just hit a grand slam against Michael Wacha, and the Giants are leading 4-0 in the 3rd inning. Meanwhile, at the end of 4, 1-1. God willing, we'll be back next year, and we certainly appreciate the reaction of the people in the ballpark and to those folks who went to all that trouble. Thank you so very much. It's not that we want to acknowledge them as much as we appreciate all the hard work and thought they put in it. Anyway, let's get back. Fifth inning, 1-1 tie, 1 run, 3 hits, and no errors for each side. Miguel Montero, followed by Jason Hamill, and then Addison Russell. Montero, leading off the second inning, struck out. Kershaw has struck out 7, but Anthony Rizzo's home run has tied up the game. Meanwhile, talking about tied up the game, a little while ago we told you that Marlon Byrd hit a grand slam against Michael Wacha, and the Giants were leading 4-0. Well, we look up right now, the Giants are leading 4-3, and they have the tying run at second base. Kershaw ready in his strike one pitch, swung on and foul back. Clayton Kershaw has faced 1,303 left-handed batters. He's allowed 27 home runs to the left-handers. The one that was really amazing was the curveball that he threw to Matt Adams in St. Louis. That's fouled away. That was the first home run hit off Kershaw's curveball by a left-hander, period. So I assume all these others were like Rizzo's, a 3-2 fastball. Can you imagine that? The only curveball home run to a left-hand batter, and it pops up just when it kills you. 0-2. Fouled away. No touch by anybody. The throw to first in time. So Montero strikes out. Winds up a 2-3 play. 8 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw.
Number 39, Jason Hamill.
You know what Joe Madden calls what happened to him? He calls it a God wink play. And the God wink play began with that home run by Matt Adams against Kershaw. The rarest of the rare. Left-hand batter on a curveball. So what happened? The Dodgers lose. They're gone. Next thing you know, the Dodgers feel that they need a change, and Ned Colletti is moved along. Then Andrew Friedman leaves Tampa Bay. That opens up the door for Joe Madden to go and leave Tampa Bay and wind up in Chicago. All because of the curveball hit by Matt Adams. As Joe calls it, a God wink play. Meanwhile, Jason Hamill with a 1-2 count. Joe Madden, the family name was Maddenini, and his father, an Italian plumber, decided to change the name from Maddenini to Madden, and he is a sure delight. Wow. Some days he will not allow the Cubs to take batting practice. As he says, the one thing you can do, it's such a long year, is wear yourself out. So he thinks about players getting tired. I remember the only real flaw, and I was telling Joe about it before the game, that Walter Alston had, and Walter's in the Hall of Fame. Walter Alston could not understand his first year why a 23-year-old kid in the best of health could possibly get tired playing baseball. Walter just didn't understand that, but he was unbelievably strong. Anyway, Joe knows that they get tired, and he tries very, very hard to give them rest, give them a sense of humor. He has another T-shirt. It says 9 = 8, meaning you give me a solid 9 innings every time, and you'll wind up one of the 8 teams in the division series in the playoffs. All of them, as young as they might look, they get tired. Oh, and one other thing, how dumb am I? I'm talking about Addison Russell, the shortstop who's up there now. And I'm saying I think there's a street Addison in Chicago. Well, if you were writing to Wrigley Field, Chicago, you would write to 1060 West Addison Street. Terrific, Vinny. You're as bright as a palm tree. 1-1. Middle. On your Toyota dealers. Now at Toyota's annual clearance event, get amazing deals on every new Toyota. 1-1, bottom of the fifth inning. It'll be Kike Hernandez, Clayton Kershaw, and then Jimmy Rollins. Each pitcher has made 64 pitches, but Kershaw has gone through 5, and Hamill ready to start his fifth. 0-1. No balls and 1 strike to Kike. Kershaw has struck out 9. Hamill has struck out 4. Fly ball to center, very playable. Dexter Fowler is there. 1 away. Say, friends, be one of the first 40,000 fans in attendance tomorrow at 6:10. Dodgers and Cubs. And you can pick up your Oral Hershiser pin, number 6 in the Cy Young Pin Collector Series, presented by 76. For more information, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. 1 away, and Clayton Kershaw grounded to short, 0 for 1. One run, 3 hits for each side. Utley tripled in Rollins. Rizzo homered for the Cubs. 1-1. John Lester will be on the mound tomorrow against Matt Latos. Then the concluding game will be Jake Arrieta and Alex Wood. That'll be Sunday night. So there's Latos, been down in the bullpen for a little while. John Lester, huge story when he was with the Red Sox for sure. Tell you an interesting story tomorrow when Lester is pitching. What the Cubs did to convince him to become a Cub. And a crack bat, a one-hopper to stay with it is Castro to throw him out. So Starlin Castro with 2 down in the 5th, and Jimmy Rollins, who is grounded out and singled. He grounded out to the loaded up right side and singled to the wide open left side, but it was all a matter of pitch location. The base hit with only a third baseman on the left side was a ball down and away. All he had to do is go with it. Base hit easy, and it's wide open again for him. 0-1. Jimmy scored on the triple by Utley, and we're 1-1 in the fifth. No balls, 2 strikes. Still 0-2. One and two. And a fastball at 94. Great pitch. So the Dodgers go down in order. That'll be 5 strikeouts for Hamill. And at the end of 5, 1-1. Minnesota. And in 1988, Orel Hershiser was the Cy Young Award winner for the Dodgers. Well, on this day 1 year later in 1989, they went head-to-head here at Dodger Stadium with the Mets. Frank Viola pitched a complete game, won the game 1-0. Howard Johnson got a base hit to drive in Greg Jeffries. Orel Hershiser went 8 innings. 2 Cy Young winners. Surprisingly, Orel Hershiser struck out 4 and Viola struck out 5. Viola going all the way. Orel went 8. Tough game, but it figured with 2 Cy Young winners going head-to-head. Let's go back to this one. A 1-1 tie. Some great moments, and certainly that had to be one of them. Clayton Kershaw working on Dexter Fowler, who is 1 for 2 against him, and a strike. Kershaw has had only 1 3-ball count tonight, and that was the count 3-2 to Rizzo when he hit the home run. Before that, Kershaw had allowed only 6 hits at a 130 at bat on a 3-2 pitch. By the way, this is that 1-1 pitch. Curveball. All right. Now you would figure it's going to be a lot tougher for Fowler on a 1-ball 2-strike count than had it been 2 balls and 1 strike. Boy, they really take the game apart this day and age. Nothing a player does goes unnoticed. So here's that tough 1-2 count. Still 1-2. It's still 4-3 favor of the Giants up north. Looks like they're in the 5th inning. Yep. And a drive into right, going back on the ball, and there to handle it on the refield. So a long out to right, one down. Chris Denorfia coming up. Earlier at the start of the game, we were talking about how the Cubs have had a marvelous month of August. They are 18-6. They were 18-4 and then lost the last 2 games they played against the Giants. They had won 11 straight over the last 3 years when playing the world champion Giants. They beat the Giants 3 straight in 2013. They beat the champion Red Sox 3 straight 2014. And this year they won 5 straight against the champion Giants. The record, by the way, 13 straight by Cleveland and Cincinnati. 1-2. One thing that Kershaw has been able to do tonight is keep Fowler quiet. Fowler hitting better than .400 against Clayton coming into the game. Check swing, no swing. Since the All-Star break, Dexter Fowler is 3rd in the league in on-base percentage, behind number 1, Joey Votto, who's out of sight, Bryce Harper, who's also pretty much out of sight, and right behind them, the smiling Dexter Fowler. 2-2. Fastball. The Dodgers have changed their look completely. Where they used to thrive on speed, now about 47% of their runs are on home runs. So the Cubs turned the tables on him tonight. Utley tripled in Rollins, and Rizzo homered for the Cubs. By the way, the Cubs have hit 41 home runs in the month of August. 3-2. Chris Denorfia. Good, hard-working, blue-collar type player. Gives you everything he's got every time. Goes after a bad ball, loses his bat. Down he goes. That would be the 10th strikeout for Clayton Kershaw.
Third baseman Chris Bryant.
So Chris Bryant coming up. Take another look. Denorfia got a letter high fastball and lost it, even though he's wearing 2 batting gloves. You can understand perspiration, but with 2 gloves. Though Chris goes back to cool off, if there is such a thing tonight. 0-1 as Big Bryant tries to uppercut the ball. No balls and 1 strike. He and Rizzo have just gotten the Cubs really talking, along with Schwarber, who we'll see probably tomorrow. There's Schwarber. Tremendously powerful. He was a middle linebacker. So you'll take a look at him tomorrow. 1-2 the count. Matt Latos, who was in the bullpen while the Dodgers were on the road, will go back to being a starter tomorrow. And he draws John Lester. Got him. Slider outside corner. Great pitch. 11 strikeouts for Clayton. But as he walks off the field at the end of 5.5 innings, it's still a 1-1 tie. 6 p.m. tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Sunday. And then the collision. That's about the best word you can think of when the Giants and the Dodgers get together. 3 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and file it in your memory book. The end of September, 28th, 29th, 30th, and October 1. 4 games with the Giants at AT&T Park. Those 7 left. 2.5 games separating the two teams. Here's Utley, then Gonzalez and Turner. We mentioned at the very start of the game about the fact that Jason Hamill gets hurt early in the game, early in his pitches, early in the innings. Well, the first time through the lineup, the opposition has 9 home runs and a .277 batting average against Jason. The second time he goes through the lineup, the opposition is hitting .233, 6 home runs. The third time he goes through the lineup, the opposition is hitting .179. So he is now beginning his third time through the lineup. Tonight, 83 degrees at the start of the game. Flags hanging limply in center field. There is not a zephyr in the house. There's proof positive. Right, we're in one. Hamill has made 81 pitches. Kershaw has made 81. Another strike. Travis Wood, the left-hander, gets up in the pen. Foul back. Jason Hamill out of Greenville, South Carolina. And there is Travis Wood. Hamill had an older brother, Bill, and his dad knew they loved to play, so his father designed and built a pitching target for the two boys with a strike zone and a ball retrieval bucket. And they'd be out there on that makeshift pitching mound, working and playing and laughing. And two kids, and one of them made it all the way. Jason Hamill. Believe it or not, he's a big league pitcher. He couldn't make his high school's varsity baseball team until his senior year. 3-2. And that goes to the backstop. So the leadoff walk, that's the second walk given up. Jason walked Crawford in the second inning. So now with Utley at first, you have Gonzalez and Turner. Gonzalez, 2 fly balls. Fly ball to right. Pop fly to shallow center that could not score. Utley from third. Check swing for a strike. Utley years ago for the Phillies was a very good runner. In fact, it was back in 2009. Utley stole 23 bases. He's not been in double figures in a while. He had 10 stolen bases. We'll see how much running he'll do with the Dodgers. They're going to keep an eye on him. Can look back and dig on the background of Chase Utley. We mentioned he had 10 stolen bases a few years ago. There's a one-hopper by the diving Castro into right field. Utley will stop at second as a one-hopper to third. So Gonzalez a base hit. First and second, nobody out. Justin Turner coming up. Utley rounding second, and he'll hold on. In talking about Chase Utley, since this is his first game in a home uniform. In losing the 2009 World Series to the Yankees, Chase Utley could say that he joined Reggie Jackson of the 1977 Yankees as the only big leaguers to hit 5 home runs in a single World Series. He is that kind of a player. So first and second, crowd making a little extra noise as Turner checks in. 1-1 tie, bottom of the 6th. Utley at second, Gonzalez at first. Big off-speed changeup, drops in for a strike. Earlier we told you Marlon Byrd hit a grand slam home run against Michael Wacha. Baseball is so interesting in the fact Byrd was 0 for 18 in his career against Wacha, and he hits a grand slam tonight. Pitch in the dirt, going to third, and safe as the ball gets away from Bryant. And now here comes Utley to score. Well, the Cubs in the 3rd inning made a mental mistake and not cutting off. Now here's a high throw. And by the time the Cubs can retrieve it, Utley is in. So for Montero, he blocked the pitch and then came up and made a bad throw. It might have been in watching Montero, and let's face it, he's a veteran catcher. Watch that play the next time. See if the mask got in the way of him trying to grab the ball. When we have a chance, we don't want to miss a pitch. So it's 2-1 Dodgers. Another one, and it gets through Montero's legs. And over to third goes Gonzalez. Take a look at the pitch that set up the run. Just watch Montero. He's going to block it with his chest. Then it gets up under the mask. See? Then he finally gets his hand on it. So of all the places for the ball to go, and I thought there was something strange sitting up here, the ball went underneath his mask, and that threw everything off, caused him to make the poor throw. So now the infield has to play in with Gonzalez at third, Utley in the dugout. Foul ball. So for Utley, it's a wild pitch that got him to third, and he scores on the error. For Gonzalez, he advanced on the wild pitch and is now at third on the wild pitch. Turner trying to pick up Adrian. Still 2-2. So a free play, good block by Montero, only to have the ball go up and inside his mask. And that wide open the door for Utley to eventually score. 2-1 Dodgers. 2 runs, 4 hits. Cubs 1 run, 3 hits. Little low. We mentioned earlier about Hamill. He had 6 wild pitches, so now he has 8. Andre Ethier waiting on deck. Travis Wood waiting in the bullpen. Slice foul down the line, out of play. 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. 1 run, 3 hits, 1 error for the Cubs. A couple of wild pitches and a throwing error, giving the Dodgers the 2-1 lead. Giants are hanging on, leading 4-3 in the 6th inning. Still 3-2. Jason Hamill, if you ask him about hobby, and he'll tell you he's always been a huge Lego fan. He started collecting the cooler ones now. He has all his old sets. 3-2. And now Montero going out to talk to him. Justin Turner grounded to short and flied to left. In the book on Hamill, good four-seam fastball at 95. He has that sinker that'll go 88-93. Chris Bosio on the phone, getting the pen ready. He has slider, changeup as well. June 1, Hamill struck out 11. And that's a high 3-2 fastball for ball 4. So Joe Maddon looks like he's heading to the mound. The Dodgers have Andre Ethier coming up. He has left-handed Travis Wood in the bullpen. Joe Maddon was telling us his family has a restaurant called Third Base Dugout. I think it was established by his uncle. His mom, they call her Beanie, is 82 years old. She works every day in that little restaurant. We'll be right back. On our most exciting lineup ever. Choose Nissan.com. And by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Use promo code BlueCrew for free entry. Andre Ethier, no doubt disappointed, taken out with a left-handed Travis Wood coming in. Hitting in his stead would be Scott Van Slyke. As far as the numbers are concerned, Andre Ethier is hitting .333 with a couple of doubles against Travis Wood. Van Slyke is just 0 for 1. Then you have another left-hand hitter on deck, Carl Crawford. Travis Wood out of Little Rock, Arkansas, lives in Alexander, Arkansas. Fastball shot up the middle. At second base, Castro gets it to Russell, turns it to first for a double play. However, on the play, Gonzalez scores, and the Dodgers lead 3-1. Boy, that was a dandy. So for Hamill, he's down by 2, hoping that will be that in the inning. But quite a play. Starlin Castro spinning on the ground, feeding it. Watch this. Short base hit. Nope. Flips. And then Russell, quick as a cat, turns it. No RBI, but the run comes in thanks to 2 wild pitches. Big Rizzo at 6'5", and now let's see. Don Mattingly asking for a review. Jim Joyce, the crew chief with the mustache. There's the play. Castro flips it. Watch Russell dragging that right foot. And it looks like he never touched the base. There's an old expression in baseball. They talk about the neighborhood play, where one fielder on the infield fields to the other, and in his haste to get across, he never touches the bag. Well, no touch there, and the other foot never touched, unless it got the back of the corner of the bag facing center field. Watch. Right foot, right there. Yep, missed it. Now Mattingly loses that one, perhaps not reviewable, and Van Slyke grounds into a 4-6-3 double play. Gonzalez did bring the run in. Turn is erased, and the batter now will be Carl Crawford. Carl Crawford walked and struck out. So 1 second, Van Slyke thought he had a base hit up the middle. Instead, it's turned into a double play. And here's Crawford. Ball one, 1-0. So Kershaw leading 3-1. It was 83 degrees when the game started, so he's had to work very hard. He's made 81 pitches in 6 innings. Ground ball in the hole under the glove of Castro. So Crawford gets a base hit. Castro bemoaning the fact that he might have had a shot at it, so near and yet so far. So the Dodgers leading 3-1. Crawford at first, held on by Rizzo, and now Grandal, who had struck out twice batting left-handed. And again, we mentioned the fact that his left shoulder hurts him when he is batting left-handed. Now turns around right-handed against Travis Wood. Fastball, ball one. Travis Wood was originally signed by the Cincinnati Reds out of high school. Big fan of the Atlanta Braves. Watched Maddox and Glavine, but his favorite player was David Justice, an outfielder. 2 years ago, May 30th, Travis Wood hit a grand slam home run. That was the first slam at Wrigley by a pitcher since 1972. Remember Cliff Lee? He reminds you a little bit of Cliff. Well, he lives about 2 minutes from Cliff Lee in Arkansas. They do charity work together. And he began working with Cliff seriously after his Cy Young year in 2008. Fastball fouled away. The 2013 All-Star game, Travis Wood made that club, and that put him in the same locker room with his buddy Cliff Lee. Well, we've had a couple of wild pitches here to determine the Dodger lead. Up north, a wild pitch by Mike Leake, and the Cardinals, who were down 4-0, have tied it up 4-4 in the 6th inning. 2-1. You hear the name Wood in Chicago, and you think of another Wood, Kerry Wood, who once struck out 20 in a game. Cubs sent Sean Marshall to the Reds, getting Wood. That was back in 2011. 3-1. And ball 4. So the Dodgers have not had to do too much work in the inning. Utley walked. Gonzalez got a single to right. Then came the wild pitch and the throwing error. Dodgers picked up another run on the double play ball. So with 2 out, it's 3-1 in favor of the Dodgers. Joe Madden has a right-hander, Tommy Hunter, up in the pen. And with Hernandez coming up, let's see. Chris Bosio, we were talking earlier about no-hitters. Bosio had a no-hitter. And the inning started. Chris was pitching, and he walked the first 2 batters. And the catcher, Sammy Ellis, came out, said, settle down and throw a no-hitter. And the next thing you know, Bosio pitched and settled down and threw a no-hitter. It was against the Red Sox back in 1993. And one other note about Chris Bosio, he has now made it back into the dugout. But he pitched, and they tell me one knee, it was bone on bone. I mean, he pitched in sheer agony. He is one they talk about as one of the toughest hombres that ever went to the mound. Chris Bosio out of Carmichael, California. 1 ball and no strikes to count at Kike. 2 on, 2 out, 2 in. And that's ball 2. Game is turned around a little bit. John Lester tomorrow will try to make up for it against Matt Latos. 3-1 Dodgers, 6th inning. That's a strike. Kike has struck out, fly to center, 0 for 2. Two on, Crawford at second, Grandal at first, 2 out. 2-1 to Kike, batting 8th in the lineup. Kershaw on deck. 2-1. Fastball, ground ball, base hit to center. Here comes Crawford. Fowler's throw will go to the shortstop, and the Dodgers lead 4-1. So Kike Hernandez singles up the middle to pick up a big RBI. Dodgers get into the comfort zone a little bit, leading by 3. Randall stopped at second. And Clayton Kershaw coming up. 2 out, 2 on, 3 in. And the Dodgers lead 4-1. Dodgers with a modest 3-game winning streak. It's reasonably modest because it was against Cincinnati. The Cubs have a 2-game losing streak. That was against the Giants. And that's going to be hit in the air to right field. D'Onofrio is there to pick it off. The Kershaw flied out. 8 men came to the plate in the 6th. 3 come home. And at the end of 6, 4-1 Dodgers. Tigers and the Giants and receive a Justin Turner bobblehead presented by Security Benefit. For tickets, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. Chase Utley got the Dodgers aboard in the third inning when he tripled in Rollins, and he opened up the sixth with a walk, and eventually the Dodgers scored 3 more. Scott Van Slyke, robbed of a hit, wound up hitting into a double play, takes over in right field for Andre Ethier. By the way, the Cubs, as a young ball club, number one, failed to cut off a throw early in the third inning, although there was no error charge. Then we saw them throw fast and loose with the error in the sixth inning. They are 4th in the league now in most errors. They have made 85. The Dodgers have made 55. The Giants have made 60. So here's Rizzo. And a strike. Anthony could become a rare type of a 30-30 player. That is 30 home runs, and he could be 30 hit by pitch. So far in 2015, Rizzo, coming into the game, had 25 home runs. He now has 26, and he's been hit by pitch 24 times. Last guy to go 30-30 home runs hit by pitch, Don Baylor. Way back in '86, Don had 31 home runs, and he was hit 35 times. One and two. He got a 3-2 fastball for the home run. Turns on that one, pulls it foul. Off speed this time. Anthony, 6'3", 220 from Fort Lauderdale. Originally drafted by the Red Sox. Down he goes. Good location. Bit down and away. So Kershaw now has struck out 3 in a row and 12 in the game.
Second baseman, Starlin Castro.
Down there. So one away. Starlin Castro, the second baseman, grounded to third and struck out. Ball one. Who has not struck out? Well, Dexter Fowler. That figured the way he's hit Kershaw in the past. Matt Caesar, and that's it. Everyone else has bitten the dust at least once. 1-1. Left-hander Clayton Richard begins to warm up. So he had Hunter, the right hand, to get up, but he did not get into the game. And that's when Kike Hernandez singled in the big extra run. Castro grounded to third and struck out. Little roller foul. I'm not sure if the people in Chicago are disappointed about Starlin Castro, or they certainly fell in love with him. He had a streak of stolen bases. In fact, he stole home a couple of times. Exciting player, but fooled on a changeup. Whoa, did he go to school on that pitch? Starlin can't believe it. So that's 4 consecutive strikeouts. It now gives Kershaw 13 strikeouts, and Castro just in shock. Well, he's 25 years old, been in the big leagues since 2010. Here's Caesar. Foul ball. Matt Caesar doubled to the gap and grounded to third. He and Fowler are the only two in the lineup who have not struck out. No balls and 1 strike. Big, slow, off-speed pitch, but it stayed up. Fastball this time at 94. 2-1 the count. By the way, it comes late. Back in the 4th inning, Anthony Rizzo hit a home run. They say it was 441 feet over the center field fence. That would be the longest home run ever hit against Clayton Kershaw. But it was only worth 1, and it's 4-1 Dodgers. Three and 2 to Matt Caesar. 4 consecutive strikeouts for Clayton. 3 and 2. Caesar hit by his own batted ball. Have to walk it off the toes of his left foot. It's going to be 9 out of 10 or almost 10 out of 10 when a big leaguer fouls a ball off his foot. It will be his front foot, not the back foot. Fastball in the dirt. Clayton tried to throw hard instead of pitching on that one. So he had a string of 4 straight strikeouts. He walked Caesar. It was added effort on that pitch. Yeah. Annoyed at himself. He wanted that so badly. I think he was thinking, I want 5 straight strikeouts. Well, he won't get it. And here's Miguel Montero. Tommy La Stella out on deck. High pop fly. Rollins angling out. Coming in is Crawford, and it's Crawford. No runs, no hits, 1 walk, 1 left at the end of 6.5 innings. 4-1 Dodgers. 4-1 in favor of the Dodgers. Clayton Richards comes out of the bullpen, and he'll be pitching and starting off against Jimmy Rollins, who was grounded out, singled, and struck out. Clayton with a record of 3-0, and we'll see how he goes now against the Dodgers leadoff man with Chase Utley on deck. And a strike, 0-1. Clayton Richard is from Lafayette, Indiana, working on Jimmy, who is 1 for 3. They load up the left side when he's batting left-handed. Now they load up the other when he's hitting right-handed. Clayton Richard, originally signed by the Chicago White Sox out of the University of Michigan. And a chopper coming over from nowhere to make a throw and getting him. Oh, what a play that was. I think Don Mattingly thinks they might have something to review. Tremendous effort coming from the other side of the bag, remember, and Castro makes the off-balance throw. Well, you name it. Rollins is standing around near the bag, and now he gets the wave. It's not enough to argue about. So Jimmy, who was thrown out by the third baseman on the right side of the infield, is thrown out by the second baseman on the left side of the infield. So 1 away. Rollins goes 1 for 4, and Chase Utley the batter. Joe Madden was talking before the game about his young ball club and how every game is of vital importance and experience. And he said, look at us. Yesterday, we faced Madison Bumgarner, the MVP from the World Series. And tonight, we face the league MVP, Clayton Kershaw. First time anything like that has happened since 1969. So the young Cubs are looking at the best. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. 2-1 to count to Chase Utley. Kershaw, by the way, in the heat, has made 98 pitches, and he has 2 innings to go. And a drive into right center, and a great diving catch by Chris Denorfia. So Denorfia taking an extra base hit away from Chase Utley, and we have 2 down in the 7th inning. We mentioned earlier, Denorfia gives you a good job wherever he plays. Nice play, Chris. 2 out, and Adrian Gonzalez coming up. Little chopper. Russell charges, throws. Nice pick by Rizzo, and that'll do it. So the Dodgers go 1-2-3 for the first time since the 5th inning. until the Cubs played rather fast and loose in the 6th inning. There were 2 wild pitches. There was a throwing error. And before you knew it, the Dodgers had 3 runs to break the 1-1 tie and take the lead. Rizzo homered. Utley is tripled. Hernandez had an RBI single. And for Clayton Kershaw, he's ready to make his 99th pitch. And leading off in the 8th inning, he'll face a pinch hitter, Tommy La Stella. Tommy, originally drafted by the Braves out of Coastal Carolina. He's from Gloucester, New Jersey, and a fly ball. Hernandez a little late coming over with plenty of time. So La Stella doesn't hang around. 99 pitches. You wonder in this heat if it wouldn't be a good idea for the Cubs to try and take a couple of pitches to see what kind of effect it has. Of course, Clayton is unusually strong. Here's Addison Russell, struck out, popped up, 0 for 2. Right. Fernando Rodney, who was with Seattle and was just about released, picked up by the Cubs, joined them tonight, and Fernando Rodney begins to warm up now in the Cub bullpen. We're in the 8th, 4-1 Dodgers. Last we checked, the Giants were tied, having blown a 4-0 lead thanks to a grand slam home run by Marlon Byrd. So that's 14 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw with 2 out in the 8th inning. Be sure to follow the Dodgers all season with MLB.com at bat. That's the #1 app for live baseball. It's up to the moment at any moment. In-game highlights, live look-ins, replays, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. So get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet. Dexter Fowler, a flare down the right field line. It will drop foul. Great all-out effort as usual from Scott Van Slyke, who might have hurt himself a little bit. Hold everything. Scotty's knees took the brunt of it. He's gesturing, "Oh, I'm okay." Van Slyke diving head first, skidding. Just did use his glove to help stop him from going head first into the wall. And those knees dragging on the ground, he probably has some skin taken off for sure. Enrique comes over. Hernandez, "Are you okay?" And Scotty waves him away. "Yes, I'm okay." Kershaw now with 104 pitches, but he has 2 out in the 8th inning. 0-2 to Dexter Fowler. We mentioned it earlier, since the All-Star break, Fowler 3rd in on-base percentage behind Votto and Harper, and he was hitting over 400 against Kershaw coming into the game. He is 1 for 3, flied to center, singled up the middle, flied to right. Giants are 4-4 in the 7th inning. Dexter just did get a little bit of that. Fowler was really an exciting player in Colorado because he had so much space in which to run, and run he did. Now, of course, it's the opposite in Wrigley Field. 1-2. And he hits it to center. Hernandez kind of had trouble a little bit, but stayed with it. So for Kershaw, he walks off the field having made 106 pitches, and the Dodgers leading 4-1. of the game. Tweet your photo for a chance to be shown in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers leading 4-1, bottom of the 8th inning, and the newest Cub, and I mean new, just joining the ball club, and that would be Fernando Rodney. Now the question is, will Kershaw go to the mound? And it looks like the answer is no. He's wrapping up the arm in the towels, and Fernando Rodney, and down in the Dodger bullpen, there's the answer. Kenley Jansen getting ready. So Fernando Rodney, who has certainly been around and picking up and coming in.
Number 10, Justin Turner.
Dodgers leading 4-1. La Stella is now at second base. Addison Russell comes out. Castro will move over to his old position. And we're about ready to go in the bottom of the 8th inning with Justin Turner. Justin Turner tonight, grounded to short, fly to left, walk, fly ball to shallow left. Caesar is there and picks it off. One away. Tomorrow, game 2. And for the Cubs, trying to snap a 3-game losing streak should they lose tonight. John Lester trying to get to the 500 mark, 1 under. Matt Latos, who has struggled with the Dodgers, spent a little time in the bullpen while the Dodgers were on the road, so he is refreshed and ready. He brings a record of 4-9. Rodney's working now on Van Slyke. Scotty hit a ball up the middle. A fine double play turned in by the Cubs. Then, as you saw, sliding on his knees in pursuit of a foul ball. Though he hadn't played very long, but he's played hard. One ball and 1 strike. Two and 1 the count. Fernando Rodney, .34 34 years old, from the Dominican, originally signed by the Tigers back in 1997. Came up and spent a good amount of time with the Tigers. 5 years ago with the Angels, then the Rays, and a year and a half with the Mariners. That's a foul ball going down the line out of play. 2-2 the count. Clayton Kershaw, going 8 innings, wound up making 108 pitches. The only run, the home run by Anthony Rizzo, that snapped the streak. He had 28 scoreless innings here this year, went 3 1/3 more, then the home run, and then he shut them down ever since. In fact, since the home run, the only thing the Cubs have is a walk to Matt Caesar in the 7th inning. He just completely took over the game. Eight innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 14 strikeouts, and 1 walk. Strike. So Van Slyke at first. Crawford has walked, struck out, and singled. Oh, and 1. In the dirt. Goes all the way to the backstop. Montero in pursuit. Stopping at second is Van Slyke. So it's another wild pitch. It's been a tough night for Montero. And Van Slyke now at second. It bounces. He tried to backhand it, which is not exactly according to the book. It would have been a lot easier, I think, for Montero to have met that with the palm right at the ball, but he tried to backhand it. Usually when you see a catcher backhand a pitch right around the plate, you think of fatigue. And it's hot. It's the bottom of the 8th, and he's been catching 4 different pitchers. Little roller. La Stella makes a nice play. 2 down. And on the play, Van Slyke goes to third.
Catcher number 9, Yasmani Grandal.
Yasmani Grandal struck out twice batting left-handed, walked batting right-handed, and now he's back up there batting left-handed. The paid attendance tonight, 44,874. 44,874. By the way, Kershaw coming out with his 14 strikeouts, his career high 15 when he pitched his no-hitter. One ball and 1 strike. You know, tonight is somewhat of an odd night. It's only the second time in the last 35 years that the Cubs and the Dodgers playing with both teams 12 games or more over 500. 35 years. Dodgers came into the game 14 games above 500, and the Cubs came in about 20 games above 500. And Mr. Moon. Shine down on me. Hard ground ball, but La Stella is on it. And that'll be it. Van Slyke is left at third. We are heading for the 9th inning. We're heading for Kenley Jansen. And the Dodgers, I hope they're heading for a big victory.
On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Jack in the Box. For a limited time, try the new Portobello Mushroom Buttery Jack with melted garlic herb butter. And by your Southern California Kia dealers. Visit mysocalkia.com to learn more.
We have reached the 9th inning. The Dodgers lead the Cubs 4-1. Kenley Jansen is now brought in to pick up after Clayton turned in another brilliant 8 innings. 1 run, the home run by Rizzo. He allowed 3 hits. He walked 1 and struck out 14. So Kenley Jansen trying to close up shop against Denorfia, Bryant, and Rizzo. Jansen with the remarkable numbers, 63 strikeouts and 5 walks. And strike 1. Kenley with 25 saves. 0-2. Denorfia struck out twice, hit into a force play. Interestingly enough, you wouldn't think about him joining Troy Tulowitzki, but Denorfia had 3 home runs against Kershaw in his career. Little ground ball. Turner is on it. 1 away. So Denorfia goes 0 for 4, and we have 1 out here in the 9th inning.
Third baseman number 17, Chris Bryant.
Chris Bryant coming up. Bryant has had a very tough night against Clayton Kershaw. Of course, he's a very young, raw talent, and talented he is. 20 home runs, 77 runs batted in. However, Kershaw struck him out 3 times. With the 3 strikeouts, Bryant has now struck out 135 times. Of course, for the Cubs, he had 9 RBIs in the week. 0-1. Foul back. Yoenis Cespedes of the Mets wound up with 15 RBIs because he had that unbelievable game in Colorado. 0-2 the count. So Bryant on the edge of striking out a 4th time. Foul back. Chris Bryant is 23 years old. 1st round pick. He went to school at the University of San Diego, but he's from Las Vegas. And he was a 1st round pick just 2 years ago. Well, you talk about somebody coming in a hurry. Here he is. 1-2. $44,874. Seeing the Dodgers try to win their 4th in a row and make the Cubs lose their 3rd in a row. And hello, Chris Bryant. Well, he's got tremendous talent and certainly no disgrace to strike out 4 times when the pitchers are Clayton Kershaw and Kenley Jansen. They get a lot of money striking out people. So the Cubs are down to their last out. Anthony Rizzo, he has struck out twice. He hit a 441-foot home run over the center field wall. That was in the 4th inning, the only run Cubs could get against Kershaw. Little chopper, this ought to do it. Utley holds the ball first to first, and that's that. So for the Dodgers, 4 runs, 6 hits. For the Cubs, 1 run, 3 hits, 1 error. For Kenley Jansen, he pitches 9 pitches and locks up shop. Meanwhile, the Cardinals and the Giants are 4-4, bottom of the 8th inning. The player of the game certainly would be Clayton Kershaw, fighting the Cubs and the Heat, and another magnificent effort at home. The only thing that got away from him, the home run, snapped that 28th consecutive scoreless inning streak he had at home. But it's his 11th win, and he will take it. So the Dodgers win, and game 2 of the series tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Till then, we wish you all good night, everybody.